I've got too many bills.
If you need funds, you can apply in minutes at cashnetusa.com and have the money in your account as soon as the same business day.
Okay, got it. Applying now.
They've been helping hardworking people cover emergency expenses since 2004.
Hey, look, I got it.
You've got this.
When you need money fast, be the hero. All loans subject to lender approval. Speed of funding is subject to verifications and your bank's processing times. See cashnetusa.com for more details.
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to take an adventure with rugged capability and commanding style. Check out the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, Passport, or CR-V. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 1.99% APR on a 2025 Ridgeline or a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Pilot, 2026 Passport, or 2025 CR-V.
See dealer for financing details.
Content warning for discussions of general abuse and religious manipulation. Someplace underneath.
Oh my God, I woke up crying. I'm usually like very in control of my emotions. I have everything planned. I'm a go-getter. Mm-hmm. I have it all researched. I have it all done. I'm on top of it. I don't need nobody. Nobody needs me. I got it. And I just woke up from period times this morning and I started crying, and I hate it so much because I feel like I can't talk about it because then men are going to be like, see, this is why you can't do nothing.
Well, also don't listen to any of those men. And also, why are they listening to your talks? Who are these men listening to?
Just a made up man in my head.
It's fair because we do get so much noise from so many different places and so many apps and so many things. It does kind of create a tulpa. In a way, I think.
What's a tulpa?
It's like a, what's the word? Oh my God, wait, I'm going to come up with a different word for it.
It's a hat. It's a big old hat.
Oh my God, what is it called?
It's a gay bandana.
Wait, hang on. I got to come up with the word or I'm going to go insane.
It's a shiny new coin, a little elf, a boy, a ting-tong. A little tap dance from a British girl.
God, the word
tulpa.
It's like an effigy, kind of. It's like a talisman. It is a thing that is manifested through either, like, there's some different ways that tulpas can be created, but it basically you create through all of that information being consumed online. You're creating this thing from all of that, and that thing is like following you around in your head.
Oh, it's like a dream catcher for assholes.
Yeah, it's like it's like the opposite of what you want in a dream catcher.
Right.
Yeah.
A bad man.
Yeah, it's like creating a little shadow guy that follows you around and criticizes you.
I thought I was crazy, and there's a whole fucking word for this. Wow.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And like, I do think that that's kind of bound to happen sometimes in our modern era because we are, inundated with so much input, right? Yeah. So just remember that's not real.
No, none of it's real. All I want to do is I want to be sitting around a campfire and I want to eat steak with my hands and I want to throw my blood at the moon and I want to kill an animal.
Oh, wow.
And then I want to, I'm sorry. Welcome to Someplace Underneath. I'm Amber Nelson.
I'm Natalie Jean. You went both very witchy and very red pill in the same sentence.
I don't know what I am.
Who knows? Who knows what anybody is? But
we're doing great today. I'm so excited to talk about this fucking asshole. He looks like he's about to explode.
Yeah, he does have that look, and I do think it is, like we were talking about, it's a little bit of a Rogan face where I think it's probably some level of HRT, is that what that's called?
Yeah.
HGH or whatever.
Gender-affirming care, yes.
Yes, they're literally gender-affirming care of a guy who's also maybe like drinking really hard but taking these things to like get muscles, and then it makes you, the rage kind of just like percolates under the skin, and then your face becomes kind of swollen, and it looks like maybe like it's like you become what's her name, Violet Beauregard from Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory,
Yeah.
where it start to just expand inside of your skin.
Yeah, it's an example of your soul showing through, like your thoughts.
Yeah.
They really like if you're racist, you will have like these like thin lips with this crazy jaw because you just want to scream slurs all the time.
Yeah.
And you have to hold it back.
And your skin gets gross.
Right. He needs to be milked.
Ew, in which way?
I don't know. He needs to be locked in a barnyard and just have these suction cups around his cock and his nipples.
That just sounds like you're giving him what he wants. That's the opposite of what he needs.
Throw him in there forever.
Yeah, he should go sit by himself for a while. That would probably help, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, he's out in our faces.
He really is. I wanted to ask you before we started if you had seen the movie The Ugly Stepsister yet.
No.
Oh my God. Okay. This is a weird moment in time where I've brought it up on both of my shows, and the other one is about fairy erotica. So there's not a lot of cross mingling of topics that come up, but I really wanted to talk about it. And I think that it's really something that you need to see, Amber.
Am I ugly?
Yes, that's exactly what. That is such a period thought. No, it's incredible. And it's kind of like If Ever After, the Drew Barrymore movie, and The Substance, and like Welcome to the Dollhouse had a baby.
I love that.
Oh my God.
Can I rent it on whatever
it's on
bullshit?
Shudder.
Okay.
But I also recommend that to you out in the public. If you can handle body horror, it's a lot. It's very gross in some parts, but it's very funny, and it's directed by a woman. It's her first feature, and it's basically talking about the story of this sister with Cinderella going on in the background. And it is fantastic, and it talks a lot about body dysmorphia, talks about like what we do to ourselves to please like these social constructs, and it's funny, and it's sexual, and it's weird, and it's beautiful.
I'll make a steak tonight and I'll watch it.
I think you should, but
and if
you
a
might.
man walks in my house, I'll be like, get the fuck out of my
Yeah, totally. And it's cool. I mean, the movie shows very flawed women too. It's like it shows how, you know, when we look at the Cinderella myth, we have these very like bland archetypes of women, and then this kind of like shows you they're all kind of good and bad at the same time, and it's fucked up and great, and like society is the kind of the bad guy in the movie. But I will warn you, I don't know if you're gonna want to eat steak while you're watching it or eat anything. I can't watch like body horror stuff and eat at the same time, but maybe that's just me.
I can watch blood, but if it's like boogers and spit, I can't.
It's not either. Well, there's some blood. There's blood.
Blood's fine.
There's some other
Show
stuff
me all the
going on.
blood. But once boogers and like when someone snorts and I can hear the snot rolling back in their head, they get it twice before I will kill myself.
Interesting.
I will put a bullet in my fucking head in front of them. Like that's how passionate I am about the snot.
But if you love them and they have a cold, you'd still stay with them, right?
I don't know.
Oh no, Amber. I wonder if that's going to be a problem.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Do you have that thing, what's it called, with sounds?
Sounds freak me out. Like the bathroom, the fan in the bathroom, I can't do it.
Wow, this is fascinating. I didn't know this about you.
Yeah?
Those are very specific things.
Is that normal or am I...
I mean, what's normal?
Who fucking knows?
I wonder if that's a thing, though. There's a term for it, sound sensitivity. Misophonia is what I was thinking of, but there's actually several different ones.
Really?
Yeah. Phonophobia, hyperacusis.
Ooh, like when people do mukbangs and they go that slurpy sound.
Well, that's gross.
That's fucking gross. Also, the sound, I hate it.
I totally sympathize with that. I don't have that, and sometimes I worry I'm making sounds, and I know people get really sensitive to it, but I do my best.
You can do whatever you want.
That shit doesn't really bother me for whatever reason. Many other things do. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
People pretending to be helping children.
Oh, Tim Ballard. He just seems like he yells a lot.
He does. He yells all the time. He's very angry.
That's another sound I can't handle when a man's like, ah, ah.
It's a lot. I have a little bit of a sensitivity to that too. Even, obviously, I'm married to Henry Zabrowski, so I can't be actually...
Well, he's not violent.
Right. He's never yelling in a way that's scary.
No, he's funny.
But in general, from past, if a guy gets like angry near me, I kind of regress a little bit, I think, and kind of like shut down.
I want to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. But then the other side is a lot of people want to kiss his feet and wash them and do all the weird stuff.
It's so crazy. It feels like him and his little horny brigade. Everybody's just so horny. They're not looking at the facts and that this guy's a liar. They're just like, I want to milk him, this weird red man.
Yeah, I don't think that's fully incorrect. I think that there is one of the main issues we're coming across over and over in this story and in the church in general is that the concept of the forbidden thoughts and the sex addiction stuff really does not manifest well in people. And they end up kind of sometimes turning into like sexual deviance or don't understand human interactions in a way that's healthy, which leads them to make really dangerous and bad decisions and think that they're being justified in it because of being touched by the Lord or whatever. Just as a refresher, last week we broke down some of the extremely credible allegations by multiple women against Tim Ballard, his former organization called Operation Underground Railroad, which has rebranded itself as Our Rescue. It's still facing a bunch of lawsuits regardless of that. And the lawsuits also included a handful of individuals, some of whom we've talked about already. The internet, we find, as all of this is playing out from 2023 on, and in general about everything, just not even just about Tim Ballard, but it allows for many alternate realities to coexist side by side. Like we're all experiencing our own human differences and experience, we all have our own perceptions. We're seeing out of our eyeballs. And on top of that, now people can kind of create these micro realities that they can kind of control, even if it doesn't make sense to the greater collective reality. And people will just believe it. And they'll go, yep, I'm not going to check.
No, they don't want to check. And a lot of it is because they want to fuck him.
I mean, maybe.
I think that this is maybe a period thought, but I was looking at his weird little ass on the video, and all these people are commenting a bunch of hearts, a lot of women. And I think they're just the horny brigade. They just want to fuck him.
I do think that there's definitely an element of that. Not to mention he tells everyone women want to fuck him all the time, which is inaccurate for the women he attacked. They were not coming onto him, and he is insistent that all women are trying to have sex with him at all times.
Right. That's why he says, that's why everybody thinks these girls are liars, is because they want to fuck him. They don't have empathy and understanding that maybe someone else does not.
I think also, too, it's like less that they want him and more that the draw of the power. And that's that. I don't mean to be vulgar, but there is a level of sexualizing Christ also in those circles. And I think it's the same idea of it, like the reverence of the let me worship you kind of feeling.
There's a reason why Christianity has gotten so far, and A, the Crusades, but also B, because the God is sexualized and he's hot.
Yeah.
Like you can't even draw Muhammad, but you can draw Christ with a six-pack.
Oh, yeah.
And a full fucking cock.
Just barely covered body, like just a little scrap over his peen. Whew. In the front of a bunch of churches. It's really, really wild. It's really wild to think about it.
Yeah, that is crazy. I guess I'm going to create a religion and my God is really sexy. He's
and mutilated
hair.
At the front of a room where you all bring kids in. You just bring this mutilated corpse to the front of the room. It's fine. There is that. There's also just, I think, a little bit of what we're going to talk about today as far as deciding on the pathway that you're going on, the one that validates your worldview, and then just not straying from it, no matter what. No matter how much there is to argue against your logic, you're just nah, no, I won't. No, I'm not going to do it. You're the bad ones because you're trying to trick me.
That's right. And if you go against me, you're a pedophile.
Right.
You're the pedophile.
Yes, that is exactly what he does, and a lot of these kind of people do. So yeah, we have these alternate realities kind of existing side by side on social media, and I'm sure that's always happened in different capacities. I do legitimately think that is how we get to things like the Latter-day Saints Church, is that Joseph Smith created his own alternate reality within his little community. They lived in a different world than other people, and that's little, high control groups, little cults. But now we're seeing that on the broader scale with social media. It makes it a lot easier to do stuff like that. We have this, opportunity to have so much information placed in front of us. We can scour through records, videos, testimonies, but that's a lot. It's a lot of time. It's hard. And it's, I think, easier to think that somebody's just going to tell me the truth. And then I'll just be that sounds right.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, it'd be really...
Just tell me what to do.
Yeah. But then when you do that, usually it ends up you are
Raped.
You end up in you live in like a room with no windows and you only get one meal a day and stuff. And you're just that's your life after that. That's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Let me just reiterate here. I know we are not people who Tim Ballard's fans want to hear from, but here's some other people who have turned on or denounced Tim Ballard. The Latter-day Saints, the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, the entire church as the body. The commentator, radio personality, Glenn Beck, who used to be his cohort in his entire media network, The Blaze, denounced Tim Ballard. Conservative commentator Jimmy Rex, who also went on OUR Vomiscations. Ryan Fisher, who we're speaking with, who is a former producer for Ballard and did a lot of work with him early on. Former AG of Utah and OUR participant Sean Reyes has also denounced him, which is partly probably because he's also implicated in a lot of bad stuff and he's trying to deflect. Don't worry, we'll talk about him more. But he has also denounced Ballard. Nearly everyone who has participated with OUR during Ballard's time has denounced him. And there's people like Tony Robbins, who basically propped him up to the outside LDS community. He hasn't denounced him, but he did sort of just stop talking about him, which is a fun way to just not, you're like, you start this, you light a match in this horrible realm, and then you just walk away and be like, I don't know. I barely know.
I don't know them. I don't know. This is like the equivalent of somebody saying all my ex-girlfriends are crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he is doing that. He's saying that repeatedly every time a new lawsuit comes up because there's many. He says,
"What a messy little bitch!
Don't listen to them. They're all trying to. They all want to kids traffic. Just that's what he said." And they go like, and his followers go like, "Yeah, it's fine."
Hi, I'm comedian Mo Fry-Pasek, and every week on my podcast, Worse Than You, I'm asking some of today's most captivating artists how they got their acts together. Hear from writers, directors, and performers like Julio Torres, Sashir Zameda, and Matt Rogers. This show isn't about their best, most famous, or most lucrative work. It's about their creative process, the projects that mean the most to them, and why they make their art. Join us every week with a new comedian and a new process talk from Good Get and Disco Nat Productions. Worse Than You with Mo Fry-Pasek.
Discover Galveston Island, where it's always island time. That means every day here feels like an easy Sunday drive. Wednesdays are made for relaxing on 32 miles of pristine Gulf Coast beaches. And Thursdays are perfect for ditching work and exploring the shops, galleries, and boutiques of our historic downtown. Because when it's island time, weekdays and weekends blend like surf and sand. So why wait for Saturday to get away? Plan your visit to Galveston Island at visitgalveston.com.
So, yeah, Tony Robbins stopped talking about him. He did help boost up, and he helped produce Sound of Freedom, and then just kind of doesn't comment on it anymore, which is great. He has a lot of weird connections, and he's got some Gaitians, so, like, I don't really follow Tony Robbins enough to give my opinion on him, but I don't know.
I remember when I bartended, because when you work in the service industry, there's always a regular that's like, I'm your favorite. And I'm like, I hate you as a human being, but I'm smiling because I have to. But he was a big Tony Robbins fan. And I was like, I don't really care for him. And he's like, why don't you like him? And I said, because it was his wife's birthday. And the post he made about her was all about himself and what she does for me and not about her. And he was just like, well, I attended a master class with Tony Robbins. And it's like getting a degree in humanity. And I was like, how much did you give him? How much money did you give him? And he got so mad at that. And I'm like, what? This is a fact. Like, how much money did you give him? A master's degree according to whom? Right. Is this accredited? No, it's some guy pulling out of his fucking ass. Yeah. Out of his hemorrhoid ass.
Yeah, and there is something to say about, that's okay if people want to give him money to get a class, they're allowed. But there is a lot of, sort of analyzation. Is that a word? Analyzation?
Sure.
Of his method. It's not like unique. It's just like he's a blustery kind of empowerment guy. But like it gives people an adrenaline boost, an endorphin boost, and that can make you feel really like excited. And if that's what you want to do, that's cool.
It'd be better off taking improv classes.
Sure.
UCB is better than he is. At least you get to yes and.
Wow.
This guy, he just pats his chest.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm on one today.
That's fine. And I'm agreeing with you for sure. It's doesn't make sense to me necessarily, but if people want to give him money, then give him money. But I don't like him because he platformed Sound of Freedom and Tim Ballard. So this is all to say, again, I keep saying that today. This is all to say we're both hormonal in weird places, aren't we, Amber?
Are people going to listen to this and be like, these two crazy women?
That sounds like a period thought right there.
And like everything we say is going to be discredited?
They can fucking say whatever they want.
Blah, 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 blah.
I'm just reporting on things. Well, I'm not a reporter, but
yeah, you are.
I'm using references. I'm not just making shit up.
If Tony Robbins can get on stage and say, give me $1,000, you get to be a special boy, you can be a reporter.
Well, okay, I agree with what you're saying in theory, but I say that I'm not a reporter or a journalist just in that I offer my opinions. So I'm a commentator. That's what I would call myself.
I respect you.
I'm not super neutral, obviously. I have feelings that come forward. So people who maybe don't hearken to feminist or lefties or even moderate papers who think Vice is demonic and the Salt Lake Tribune are a bunch of communists. These are their people. The people who have all denounced Tim Ballard are their people who knew and worked with Ballard, saying they were fooled by him. But that most of his fervent supporters don't seem to care. And it doesn't seem to matter to them that the people around him now, like the people who are supporting him the most are people who don't know him. Like that should be a red flag. But I've discovered doing this show and actually going through certain events in my own life, there will be a chunk of people of the population who will see what they want to see despite all evidence suggesting otherwise and may even quadruple down.
Yeah.
The more evidence that counters their viewpoint, they'll be like, no, actually, you're making me more, and that's what happens with cults too,
right? Well, they're God's perfect soldiers. Mm-hmm. They're going to fall in line. They're going to do what they're told, and they're horny. And it's him and his little horny brigade.
And it's keeping faith. Yeah. If you want to be quote unquote good, keeping faith, which is one of the reasons I don't like that word very much, is to me, faith. Using the word faith suggests that you have to believe something against your own intuition,
right? And
that can go sideways really fast, and it does. And so Ballard, Angel Studios, and Sound of Freedom social accounts are all operating as usual, despite the fact that they have had a multitude of lawsuits against them, that these women have come forward who are LDS women, who are not,
lying
a bunch
whores.
Of sluts and OnlyFans models, those evil demons. That they're these people who they would otherwise take seriously, but his cult of personality has overridden this, especially because he has created this environment around him that makes him look like an action hero, that he's running into the jungle and pulling kids out, like based solely on his own media that he has created for himself. And people will just follow it.
So stupid. These are the guys that are like, they never make dinner, and they're like, I'll make dinner, and they make a mess in the kitchen, and it's not even that good, and you have to clean it up. It's like that kind of guy.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and if the dinner that he's making is like poisoned and full of fecal matter.
Yeah, just causing problems.
Just causing problems.
No one likes this guy unless you don't know him.
You're asking him, please don't make dinner. And he's like, why are you trying to shame me?
You're the pedophile.
Yeah,
Everyone's a pedophile.
You don't want my dinner. You're a pedophile. Yes, that's sort of that world. So his presence is quite active. He's posting almost daily still. You can go look at his account right now. And those who are all following him are already fanatical, and they are praising him as a leader and a savior. And Ballard's white guy confidence even permits him to continue attacking people who are reporting on his lawsuits publicly. Like, he'll just go onto his social media and be like, this story came out. This is why they're evil. And just the followers will be like, yeah. And they'll pick their pitchforks up and they'll be like, we'll get them. Why are they trying to hurt you? He uses every trick in the book to deflect this stuff, including, he marches out his frail blonde wife on his social media and shows how supportive he is of the attacks against her, his poor wife, who is absolutely, in my opinion, culpable for a bunch of what's happened. But, he brings out this frail, beautiful little LDS woman, and he's like, why are they hurting her? And he'll do that. He'll call journalists and politicians who question him lovers of pedophiles. He switched churches to try to gain their sympathies. He associates images of himself always surrounded by either action footage or heavenly looking stock footage. You know how you can kind of just do these mind tricks where it's he'll produce content that's him in a video, and then it will cut to beautiful light beams breaking through a cloud and just the images of heaven, and people, it can get in there. You just go, wow. He's near God. That's where God lives.
Yeah, that's where God lives. What's that called? That's Freud's somebody, nephew, Bernays. He created propaganda, and they would just, show two things side by side. Your brain will figure out a way to connect them.
Oh, interesting. I actually don't know that.
I don't know, but this guy, he's giving We the People decal on his car and
Absolutely.
Unwashed ass.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. Washing your ass is super gay. So it's really masterful what he does in kind of a disturbing way. And I'm going to preface this by saying I really loathe calling everyone who sucks and is doing harm a narcissist. I think it makes the diagnosis cease to mean anything if we just say everybody's a narcissist who acts narcissistic or who is vain or arrogant or mean. And also it can be a way for narcissistic people to deflect their own behavior. But there are a couple people who I personally feel comfortable associating that word with. While I can't diagnose him, and I would never, I'm no way attempting to do that. I would be willing to put money on Tim Ballard being classified somewhere in the realm of this cluster of mental disorders, right? I just put this little clip in here. I'm sure you've heard this, but there's something called the narcissist prayer.
That didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, not a big deal. And if it is, not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it.
So he is playing out of that book. If he's not diagnosed with that disorder or that dysfunction, he is using that quite frequently, that prayer, to deflect from his actions. And you really, if you've never had this experience, most people have, I think, in some point in their life, but if you've never really known true mental anguish and madness in your own head until you approach somebody about some abhorrent action they did, and for that person to respond with, no, I didn't.
You mean my mom?
Get her.
Get her. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's hard when you say it very objectively, something that happened, and then they respond with, no, I didn't.
No, I didn't. That didn't happen.
And
You had a great childhood.
You're like, what do you mean? Yes, it did. That didn't happen. And then if you bring up enough stuff, they'll maybe turn it into, actually, you kind of caused all of that. Everything's fine. Why are you talking about this? You're acting crazy. That can kind of happen when you're faced with somebody who's kind of in that realm of mental space who can't, whatever is going on, that they can't process their own shame, their own actions, and they have to deflect the whole time. They will do anything, and they will make everyone else feel crazy around them to stop that. They will throw people under a bus. They will burn people's lives to the ground to maintain this facade that they've created for themselves. And I very much believe, my opinion, that Tim Ballard is in that realm. With Ballard, from looking at the outside, he seems to be living in some kind of messianic complex. That's not a real diagnosis. It's not clinical, and it's not recognized by the DSM, but it's a like sort of a casual term. It's when you combine, there's these things going on in your head, and then you kind of combine it with religiosity, and you get this sort of messianic soup, in my opinion. So the reason I'm bringing all this stuff up about Tim Ballard is...
Let's keep shitting on him for the whole time.
I'm talking about it too for reasons. Let's please shit on him. I think he deserves it personally. But the reasons I'm bringing it up is because I find ways that the LDS Church is a little bit culpable in their doctrine and the way that they tell men to behave. I do think connects to how he acts.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. There's always nature and nurture with everything that goes on in our lives. We don't live in a vacuum.
I mean, you tell people, specifically men, you get your own planet. You're also one of the God's special little chosen special ones. Everybody else is going to go, they're going to float away in darkness, but you are special.
Yes.
You're going to breed a bunch of fucking assholes.
Yeah. It seems like the ultimate, that's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
What other end result is going to happen?
Yeah. What are you going to be like, oh, I have empathy and care for people that not like me? No. They don't even consider them human beings.
For sure. It's part of what I think became Tim Ballard and some of his friends who we've talked about on this season. And it's just fascinating. And this again connects to the LDS Church. But in the brief amount of time I was doing research on the Messianic complex idea, I came across something called the Jerusalem syndrome.
Ooh.
Which has been a phenomenon that's been studied for decades. It's not, again, something you would see on the DSM, but it is something that psychologists and specialists and professionals have studied for a long time, which is it's in regards to the psychological reactions of people who visit Jerusalem and basically have a psychotic break or become disturbed in some way when they go.
Oh.
There are actually other like ancient cities that have their own version of this too, which is so interesting.
Is this like ley lines like the indigenous people were talking about?
I mean, that's a fun way to think about it, but I think more than anything, and this is through studies too, it's that people who go through this were most likely already experiencing some level of religiosity and coming to this place where everyone tells you the spiritual magic is supposed to converge. It can either send them over the edge in a way of being disappointed or feeling that they're being touched by the hands of God herself.
Oh, because your whole life revolves around this and you finally see it. It's kind of like a greyhound if it catches the rabbit.
Yeah. And they're like, what do I do?
What do I do now? It's a fake rabbit. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So this is an actual condition that's been studied for many decades. There's one that's connected to Rome and Paris also. And it's very, I'm not an expert on it at all, but it's really, really interesting to think about it through that lens because I don't think it's necessarily all that different from what's happening with somebody like Ballard. And this entire mentality, the idea that there's these special places, it's why I often feel so repulsed by religion in general. It's like why we're watching the horrors of the extermination of Palestinian children right now is just the idea that there's some magic spell on the land and that you're entitled to something is really bad for people. I think for human beings, it's just a really bad thing. And it's my personal belief that Ballard, he already had this existing brain chemical soup when offered the suggestion by his church throughout his life that he was, in fact, as special as he suspected he was, that it broke something vital inside of him and he can no longer face the truth of himself. And he's using it through the lens of religious fanaticism. And I think that whatever he already was mixed with that has made him incredibly dangerous as a person. As the series of trials unfold currently for LDS goddess, 144,000 platinum member and child murderer Lori Vallow, we're watching her disintegrate in real time as she represents herself. And for the first time, can't control the narrative about herself. And I'm seeing parallels between her and Ballard. And, they're both deeply enmeshed in the idea of the end times, of the apocalypse, of the specialness of the LDS, the saints. And as we're watching Lori Vallow's trials play out, again, she is already going to be in jail forever, but she's going through these other trials because of all these other things she's done. And she is doing the thing where she's representing herself, and we're watching her. We're watching her wait for God to appear, for the jails to open, for people to finally understand that she didn't kill all those people. She sent them to the celestial kingdom. She freed them.
And it's just not happening, and then every day she gets a little more madder?
Yeah.
Because God hasn't appeared yet?
And also, she's losing it. Like, really, really. She's always kind of lost it. Like, she was deemed, incompetent for a while and then was deemed competent. Wow. But now we're watching her shatter and slow. Like, she's disintegrating in front of us. It's really wild to watch. But she has, in the past, made jokes about when she gets out how she's going to appear on Dancing with the Stars. Like, that's where her she thinks she is.
Oh, she's lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Paul Scheer.
I'm June Diane Raphael.
And I'm Jason Mantzoukas.
And we're the hosts of How Did This Get Made, a comedy podcast where we deconstruct, make fun of, and celebrate the best, worst movies ever made.
Have you ever seen a movie that's so bad that it's actually good? That's what we're talking about.
From blockbuster franchises and made-for-TV romances
to bonkers 80s action flicks and obscure sci-fi musicals, we cover it all.
You can find How Did This Get Made wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode, idiot.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
She is murdered. She's like a serial killer, which I find very fascinating because she's like Jodie Hildebrandt, like Ballard. They're all anticipating the end time, but she still is thinking about being on Dancing with the Stars, which doesn't seem to line up with the rapture happening. But I guess she'd probably have a way to explain that if you asked her.
I'd watch it with her little her bangles and her shoes.
No, let's not. I think we already are almost platforming Casey Anthony here. We gotta take a step back as a society.
Is she on Dancing with the Stars?
No, but I'm seeing a world in which it's not that impossible for that to happen because she's got a social media presence.
I mean, anything can happen. Wasn't there talks about a show to be a U.S. citizen, some kind of reality show?
I don't know if that's real or not, but it doesn't sound that far-fetched to me at this point. That's very dark and dystopian. Cool. So when all of these things she is believing are going to happen aren't happening, the cracks are showing in expanding numbers here. So she's feigning sickness. She's showing up in a wheelchair. She's trying anything to show people how she is the victim in all of this. And we're watching this happen with Ballard too. Like you have just said when you were looking him up, his face is changing a lot. His mannerisms have become sort of more
erratic,
spastic. Yeah. And
scary guy.
He's scary.
I don't want to be in a room with him.
No,
he'd be weird.
Oh my God, so weird.
He'd hit me or something.
I mean, he has dozens of accusations against him. And he, however, has something that Lori doesn't still, which is a chorus of supporters feeding him life. So he's still he can kind of feed off of the fervor of his fans and followers. It's my belief that this is partially on the doorstep of the LDS Church. And it's kind of funny almost when you think about someone showing up in Jerusalem and realizing they're the Messiah, being a mental disorder, but telling people you're the prophet while wearing an expensive suit from the top of a tower gets you a tax reward. It's the same thing, but we're just packaging it differently and we're really treating them differently. Like the one guy, oh, that's a loon. Wow, he's crazy. And then this guy, this prophet over here, no, he's chill. You should throw him in a 100th birthday party and everybody should come.
Is he the Antichrist?
Which one?
I don't know.
It's tough to discern who came into Operation Underground Rescue, also known as OUR, with good intentions. Because I'm certain people came to OUR wanting to help, especially the women who became victims. Even some of the guys, I'm sure, came in with Tim thinking they were doing this great thing. But I think trying to understand what good intentions are would entail analyzing people in a way in which I'm not qualified, because did these guys think that they were helping? Probably. They thought they were doing something really important. Are they also incapable of acknowledging that they're unqualified to help in something as complex and sensitive as human exploitation? Yeah, probably. So does it really matter if they thought they were doing well when they can't even address that they are hurting the cause? I don't know. They were actually participating in encouraging human trafficking and exploitation, and it doesn't seem to matter at all to Ballard's defenders. It's much more about the idea of helping that makes them feel and reinforce their own worldview. The idea of helping is more important than actually helping, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They're just running on feelings and horniness. I'm telling you, it's a horny brigade. They just want to fuck him. That's it.
Are you horny right now?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was playing into it. No, you're allowed to be horny, Amber. It's allowed.
Yeah, I'm a little horny. Not for this fucking guy.
Oh, yeah, no. Thankfully, I'm glad.
No, he looks like the 8th deadly sin. You know what I mean? He just looks like, like if I put a pincushion in him, like black would ooze out.
Yeah, it might. Let's try. No, we're not doing that. We're not hurting anybody. We're not poking anybody. Not doing that.
No, I want a nice person.
And then, of course, and I'm not trying to shit on everybody who still even supports OUR. We're all overwhelmed and overstimulated with information at all times. And a lot of people who support OUR or think the Sound of Freedom is a true story are just not paying that much attention, and it's not a crime. They're not doing a bad thing, because that shit's created as propaganda for you to just look at it and go, oh my God. Not everybody's going to have time and people have lives, unlike myself, who will just go spend a weekend not seeing anyone, just reading stuff like this. And then I have to go out and scream like, this isn't real. And they're like, wow, she sounds crazy.
Yeah, they got a lot going on. And it's like, if somebody tells you, buy a ticket to this movie, you're saving a child's life, You're
like, yeah, sure. Sure. That's so easy for me to do.
Yeah, it's an easy way to be another hero.
Right. And to feel like you're doing, because those people don't like child trafficking. They don't want children hurt.
No, nobody does.
And this is an easy way to feel like you've done a help, even if you have not in any way. So
I feel like a true hero cries sometimes.
I agree. I agree with you, Amber.
Yeah.
I do. But, so that highlights the danger of a cult of personality like Ballard. An amoral person like him can get online, say something like God's children are not for sale. People say, I love God and I hate child abuse. So, yeah, he's built this whole thing around him. So while I can't tell you the inner workings of the men and women, of course, there's women involved who've been helping him, including, in my opinion, his culpable wife, who have continued to support and platform Ballard. And I can't tell you what they're thinking, but I can tell you that the men who've remained have already been brought up on this season, and they have fully locked into Ballard being a messiah who is getting attacked by Satan's minions. When Tim was ejected from OUR in 2023, just prior to the lawsuit going public, and as a review, we talked about he was allowed to leave graciously with like a letter being like, I'm going to go look, I'm going to spend my time working on other things to help the children, instead of him being fired, even though OUR knew the reason that he was asked to leave was because of all of these accusations coming forth. But they allowed him to have his public image untarnished. So when this was all happening, Tim knew this was going to fall out right around when Sound of Freedom was happening. He already had a contingency plan, and it involved our friend Ken Krogue, the LDS priesthood holder who made his name doing speaking circuits in the bizarre mental health field mixed with sex addiction and SRA communities in the Utah and Mormon Belt, who we talked about in regards to Eternal Core, who is now in his own set of court dates for stalking the Benians in Spring City, believing they are Satan-worshipping baby eaters. We've talked about him in several different facets of the bizarre behaviors in the church, and we're here with him again. He and Ballard have been intertwined for some time now, and who can think of a more iconic duo? Or I should really say throuple, but we'll get into that in a minute. Through the at least last half a decade, Ken and Tim have shared billing at Eternal Core, which is, we covered that. It was the New Age LDS stuff, the mental health, sex addiction, obsessed group.
If you look at porn once, you're just a bad man.
Yeah, and the devil's in your body.
Yeah.
That, we'll talk about Thom today too, but.
Yeah, this leads to dudes just on their lunch break looking at porn in their cars.
Yes.
There's no healthy balance there. It's just like, I gotta fuck.
I was tempted again. It's like, just look at fucking porn and put it away.
It's okay. Masturbate and then you're done.
You just do it. It's fine. But no, it's not, actually. It's not okay. So Ken and Tim were both speakers at Eternal Core conferences at a number of these others. There's other conferences too who we haven't even gotten into where they have also crossed paths. And Krogue seems to have taken on a sort of almost caregiver role to Ballard, or at least that's what it feels like to me. I guess you could also call it an enablement.
Is he a dom? And Ballard's the sub?
No.
Is Ken the dom and Ballard the sub?
I don't think so. I can't imagine Ken being a dom, to be honest.
All right, Tim Ballard, get on your knees. Because he talks like that?
He does.
The keep sweet voice?
He does have a keep sweet voice, which is a lot of LDS men do, which is really interesting because they are still doing really horrible things a lot of the time when they have that voice. But they're encouraged to have that meek voice in that church, and it's almost like that's even scarier. So he has been here for Tim through his trials, we'll say. And Ken is definitely, in my opinion, enabling Tim's messianic self-image. Some people would want me to mention that Ken had a traumatic brain injury in 2015, and some people think that he's being taken advantage of, and he might be more susceptible to manipulation. I don't know whether he's being taken advantage of. The brain injury is real by all accounts, but I don't know whether or not he's being taken advantage of. But I do know that his behaviors are still bad news a lot of the time. So I don't know if I can say that he's not responsible for it. When Tim made his quiet exit from OUR in June of 2023, Ken was in the metaphorical getaway car in the middle of the night, ready to swoop up his boy and bring him to the safe space inside of the Spear Fund. Yes, most of their ambiguous, possibly shell organizations sound grandiose, biblical, and often have something to do with the suggestion of violence, much like Spear Fund. So who the fuck knows what they do? The Spear Fund has been around for a handful of years, and that was where Ken was coming to shelter Tim, to be a spokesperson. And they allege that they purport they are saving trafficked children. But who knows? It's hard to say, but in fact, their website itself seems to have stopped updating by the end of 2023, though it is still up and you can go view it right now. Like OUR, they seem to collect funds from Mormons mostly and then take credit for missions by other organizations because they gave them money from their donors. So a lot of what OUR takes credit for and other organizations have complained about this is that OUR will collect all the money from all the donors in the church, and then they'll take that money and then they'll hand it to like a police force. And the police force will use that money to purchase things, and then OUR will be like, see, we saved the children. It's like, you just donated money.
Yeah, they're just going to go buy a tank now.
They brought sniffing dogs, I know, at one point for missions, which is great, but you're not saving, you as an organization are just taking other people's money and handing it to police. Like, that's not, you're not doing anything. And I'm not saying that I can't speak for what everything OUR has done or what they're called now, Our Rescue. There may be some more hands-on stuff, but there have been a lot of organizations all the way back to 2020. We talked about this before, that were approaching the government in Utah saying they are taking credit for missions that we've done and it's not okay. And they've already faced a bunch of these accusations. So it seems as though Spear Fund is kind of working in the same realm. And it also has an adoption branch, which really concerns me.
Yeah, I did click on a thing that says free a girl. And it's this picture of a sad girl's face. And I immediately am just like, oh, I want to free a girl.
Of course.
And then you look into it and you're like, but what do you guys even, it's just a lot of buzz.
Yeah, all of their descriptions on the site reads like the stuff, what do they call it when they just leave it in for you to fill in later? You know, like the copy that's like on when you like start
Mad
the
Libs?
website. Well, you know, like when you open a website, like you create one and it's just like it shows you where you can put in about us and it just says a bunch of words that you have to fill in for yourself. And it's like a template holder. That's what a lot of their website reads like. Like they never, but they did. They put stuff in themselves, but it just reads like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, they have like some tracker that says 90 billion from sex trafficking. I don't know from who.
What does that mean?
Where? Who gives it? Where the money? How did you find this number? It's just buzz. There's no facts here. But, you know, you're like, free a girl. Oh, I got to free her.
Right.
4 minors and 2 adults were rescued. 3 raids in 3 different states. 5 perpetrators were arrested.
See,
what?
This is what I'm talking about. They didn't go on a raid. They don't have the capability of doing that. They don't have any background.
They made it up
to do this. So what they're counting is giving money to some other organization and then calling it their own raid. That's what that means. And that's bullshit. That is misleading at the very least. Spear Fund has also stopped updating after 2023. So they brought Tim in around June, and then they kind of were just like in the business of defending him for the following 6+ months. And then they kind of just stopped posting. We know where Ken is. We've talked about what he's doing right now in Spring City. So he's out and about, bopping around, doing other weird stuff, but he stopped posting on this as more and more accusations came out. So fascinatingly, on top of all of that, neither Ken nor Tim appear on the Spear Fund's About Us tab. But they still have up all of these press releases that they had put out after Tim's accusations kept getting worse and worse, and he was still connected to the Spear Fund. Here's one of those press releases.
Spear Fund president issues statement regarding false criminal allegations against Tim Ballard. Salt Lake City, Utah, November 16th, 2023. The Spear Fund, an organization funding and defending efforts to end child trafficking in our time, is releasing a statement from President Ken Krogue. We have not been informed of a complaint by any of the women to law enforcement, nor have we been contacted by any law enforcement agency. The fact that a purported criminal complaint has been leaked to the media is even further evidence of the true intent behind this charade. It is designed to stir up a media frenzy, to harm the reputation of Mr. Ballard, and to impede his and others' efforts to fight the sex trafficking industry. A private citizen has no authority to initiate a criminal investigation or prosecution. While any citizen can submit a complaint to law enforcement, it is up to law enforcement to determine whether or not to investigate, and then it is up to prosecutors to determine whether or not to prosecute. The fact that one or more of the women suddenly supposedly realized that they were victimized by a crime raises questions as their credibility to intentions that will be answered by the pending litigation. So he's just calling them all liars?
Yes. So that was Ken calling all of the victims liars on behalf of Tim Ballard, and that was in November of 2023. At this point in their story, they were at the no, I didn't phase. They couldn't hold on to that because there is some evidence, but they kind of just still went like, they were coming on to me. Yeah. I didn't want to have sex with any of them. But this was at the point where they're all going, no, I didn't. No, I didn't do that.
No. It's up to law enforcement to decide, and they're the only ones that can actually do anything. So,
no. I guess the women coming forward now is a little suspicious, isn't it? And It's like, yeah, Ken. Yep.
They just want to, because like we're over here saving sex trafficking victims, and anybody that's against us, they've got to be a pedophile.
All of those LDS stay-at-home moms, all they want is to. They wanted Tim Ballard to have sex with them so bad they need to ruin his life. You know, that's what they want.
And he says like one or two. There was more than one or two.
There was many.
There's like, you lying little whore.
Yes.
What a little lying whore bitch.
I don't know what the end result ended up being as far as the sexual assault claims, but I think there was at least 7 or 8.
I hate it when people lie to me.
Yeah, it's not enjoyable.
Yeah, why are you lying?
Because
bitch.
He's a stranger to himself, I think. So Ken was very team Tim all the way through, and not just publicly, as we now know. Because what happened in August of 2023, just a couple months before all the accusations kind of came out and people became super aware of who the women were, old Thom Harrison came out from his eternal cooler hole and sent a message through Ken to Tim from Jesus Helena Christ.
Fuck you.
Because yes, Thom Harrison, our old friend, received messages about Tim that he just had to bless Tim with all of these trials coming his way, all these people trying to get at him. He needed to make sure Tim felt safe and heard and special.
So this is from Jesus, right?
This is from Jesus, manifested through Thom Harrison.
And this is real. This is real, everybody.
This is real.
Don't make fun of him, okay?
Manifested through Thom Harrison, sent as Ken became the messenger for Thom to Tim.
Right.
Okay?
It's a game of telephone, and Jesus said so.
Jesus said it.
And if you don't agree with me, then you're a pedophile, Satan.
Yes. And so On August 5th, 2023, the creator of the cosmos had this to say to Tim.
To Tim, through Thom, I am second witness, Ken. Saturday, August 5th, 2023, 6:15 p.m. This came to me regarding Tim from the writings of 2 Corinthians 6. As the minister of God.
You need more bluster. You need to be like, as the minister of God.
Minister of God.
Or, no, I won't make you do that because there's a lot of lines.
I should do it in the Keep Sweet voice.
That's true.
You have been called by apostle decree. It takes much patience in affliction, distress, and in necessities to accomplish such responsibilities, and for ordinations have you been called. In writings and revelations you are caused to endure and suffer much. You will be sustained by pureness of speech, by pure knowledge from God. Long-suffering will be demanded, for where much is given, much is of necessity required. Then the kindness of the Holy Ghost will comfort and sustain you. His unfeigned love will sustain you, not like the feigned love of friends, past supporters, and family who have abandoned you for filthy money, lies, and conspiracy, and all manner of greediness, selfishness, and false accusations. Oh, so God says he's real.
God says that
you're going to suffer, but it's okay.
That Tim is a special boy. Okay.
You know, this just in. I got a message from God. What? He tells me, he says to go put your cock in your asshole and go fuck yourself.
To who? Tim?
To Tim.
Oh, fuck. Maybe we can get that message to Ken.
Oh, my God.
And Ken can send it to him.
Ken, are you listening? Can you write it and send it? He wants you to bend your cock back so you can fuck your own unwashed ass.
Okay, we'll try it. We're gonna work on getting that to him.
Thank you.
I feel like he needs to hear what Jesus' amended document says.
It just came to me.
Yeah, wow. Well, let's finish this message that Thom got from Jesus, Lamb of Christ. I'm skipping some because it's quite long and repetitive, just so you know. This is only part of it.
You be chastened, yet not killed, beaten, yet not bloodied. In your sorrowful heart there is always rejoicing of what you have seen, what has been shown you, and what will continue to parade before your eyes and live in your heart. You will live to see the destruction of this nation, the abandonment of righteous ideals. The Constitution hangs in balance of unrighteous leadership and the selfish desires of conspiring men and women. You will stand as a solitary witness of all you have warned the nations of, and you will see those who offend his little ones and fall into traps that they have set for men like you to stumble into. These, with their banners so terrible, will fight with weapons never before imagined. They will not slumber or sleep before the battle is won. Their battle is yours being won. United is the righteous deliverance of the captive, valiant and true. Cease all filthy conversations. Shrink not or faint. You are held up by faith, prophecy, and foreordained to do this work. Heal the breach in your marriage. Pray for those who speak evil against you. Love those who hate you. For many will fall into the pit they have dug for you. I am with you always, your Savior, Redeemer, and friend. Your battle is mine. Your ways are becoming my ways. Make now your heart, your mind, my mind. These are uttered in righteousness and under the sacred and holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I'm sorry, Jesus the Christ.
Jesus the Christ. Amen.
I do like that part towards the end where it says, pray for those who love those who hate you, for many will fall into the pit they've dug for you. Because it's just kind of saying like, yeah, pray for your haters because they're going to fucking die. And they're going to be tortured to death. And so be like, I'm so sorry for you. I feel really bad for you now that you're being tortured in a pit.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
This is such a bitchy little monologue.
Very passive aggressive.
I don't think Jesus would be passive aggressive little cunt like this.
I do love that Thom did write this like he wanted it to sound like it was from the Bible. Even though it doesn't super make sense, he tried to like make the phrasing of the sentences sound like biblical prophecy that would fit in.
But it's just they make no sense. Like I had a hard time reading it.
Well, yeah, definitely. And it does sound like a teacher trying to rap with his students, like trying to make it sound.
Oh, like Michelle Pfeiffer pulling the chair backwards.
Yeah. But he wants that for Jesus. He's trying to make Jesus understand that he gets it.
I don't like that they're just pretending to talk to God and making stuff up.
They do it all day, every day. In case that was a lot for you guys to take in, there's a queen on Reddit with the handle *Foxy, who gives the cliff notes on this Thom Harrison prophecy. If, that was too much for you to really take in.
*Foxy. You're going to save the Constitution and you'll have lots of enemies, but you'll get to see them fall in the traps they've set for you. People are going to tell so many lies about you. Nations are going to call you blessed. All the nations you haven't even heard of, and nations you'll be like, where did these nations come from? And you should fix your marriage.
So that's the extent. That's basically like the condensed version of what that blessing was.
That's funny.
And it's interesting, too, because he's almost acknowledging that Tim has fucked up his marriage somehow. So it's like, what are you trying to say with that, Tom? You're saying he did cheat on his wife, but it's not his fault? Or what does that mean? Like, what are you saying? Because the rest of it is saying they're all lying about you.
Right.
You're acknowledging he did something wrong with his marriage. Whatever.
God, divorce him.
She's too, I mean, my only hope is that maybe if this really does face the justice it deserves and it goes to court, that because she was culpable in so much that she'll turn on him. That's my only hope.
To save some years off her sentence?
Yeah. And that's all just hope. I don't know what's going to end up happening, but these things are still very much going on. These are not things that have been closed as much as he wants you to believe that, because there have been some lawsuits amidst the dozens and dozens that have come forward that have been dismissed. It's just kind of the way the court system works. These dismissals haven't absolved Ballard of wrongdoings as a whole. They're more bits and pieces of the bigger picture that get dismissed due to lack of sufficient evidence for this thing. Not saying he didn't do it, just saying we can't prove this, we're going to throw this out. But it's not the main meat of what's going on. But if you listen to Ballard, he really gets to utilize that to his benefit, because he can go on to his followers and be like, these cases are dropping like flies as all of my enemies are shown to be satanic. And can you kind of play into the idea that it's true that you can go see this case was dismissed, but if you read 4 sentences in, you see they dismissed this case of emotional distress because she signed an NDA here. It doesn't mean he was absolved of all of these other things that he's being the really bad stuff. That's still being sent through all the court systems.
Right.
But the way he can place it is, see, one by one, they're falling.
And if you have a job and a lot going on, you're not going to read this. You're
Right,
going to
you'll be
look at the front page of his stupid little website.
Exactly.
That he hasn't updated in 2 years.
And go, oh, these women, they're all lying.
Yeah.
So evil. Can't believe it. And that is the unfortunate part of nuance and complicated situations like this, especially with a manipulative person at the top, is that if you don't spend the time, it looks like he's getting, he's winning.
Yeah.
He's getting all of these people to go away. And it's that's not what's happening at all. But Ken has kind of gone silent about it since 2024. In fact, a lot of the people involved in all of these cases have gone really quiet over the last year. And it's kind of we're in this waiting situation. Thom seems to be hiding out mostly inside the church. He's still very active. And as far as, at least in the last couple years, he was still deciding whether or not young missionaries were mentally sound enough to go on their missions, which is a big problem in my opinion. But he's still regarded in the church. And that is, again, to point out that even though the greater body of the LDS church has denounced him, a lot of people inside of the church are still supporting him and enabling him and platforming him from the inside.
Do you think they think it's rock and roll and cool to like him?
Maybe.
You imagine thinking you're punk rock by liking Tim Ballard.
I could see it, especially if you've never been allowed to listen to music. You know what I mean? You don't know what rock and roll is. You're like, this must be it.
That's right.
So the dismissals, again, they don't absolve Ballard of wrongdoings as a whole. And I'm not saying what was dismissed wasn't unfair, because I'm not trying to downplay the suffering of the people who had those little bits and pieces of the cases dismissed. It's not small little bits and pieces to them. It sucks that they couldn't go after a couple different things that they dismissed, but it's based on technicalities. They didn't have enough physical evidence for something, or, they signed an NDA. So this one little thing, they can't make a charge against it. So it's not like disproving what they've said. The courts are saying like, we can't bring this one in. It doesn't work. I wish that I could go through each of these things we don't have time. Like I could do 6 episodes on this alone. Maybe after the season, we'll make some video essays going into more detail about like the cases that got dismissed and all of these different moving pieces, because it's all fascinating. It's tragic, including the horrific act of getting a Colombian woman imprisoned to save his own ass. Tim Ballard getting this woman thrown into jail for like up to 20 years for his own image. It's really awful. But I want to leave here by saying all of this essay stuff, all of the assaults, all of the abuse, that is one part of Tim Ballard's problems, because there is a whole new set of lawsuits coming out against Operation Underground Railroad that involve fraud and financial crimes.
Unfortunately, those are going to be the ones that'll stick.
Whatever works.
Whatever works, yeah.
Coming up next week.
He is a dangerous person and very vindictive, very quick to anger, and anybody that opposes him had better be watching out, because he's gone to some great lengths to try and ruin people's lives.
We sit down with Ryan Fisher, a former colleague of Tim Ballard's, who has now become a vocal defender of Ballard's alleged victims. Ryan's insights and warnings are vital to understanding just how insidiously destructive OUR was to the greater cause of saving children.
Hey, I'm Paul Scheer.
I'm June Diane Raphael.
And I'm Jason Mantzoukas.
And we're the hosts of How Did This Get Made, a comedy podcast where we deconstruct, make fun of, and celebrate the best, worst movies ever made.
Have you ever seen a movie that's so bad that it's actually good? That's what we're talking about.
From blockbuster franchises and made-for-TV romances
to bonkers 80s action flicks and obscure sci-fi musicals, we cover it all.
You can find How Did This Get Made wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode, idiot.
Have you ever spotted McDonald's hot, crispy fries right as they're being scooped into the carton? And time just stands still. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.